Hello everyone, Meta527II here, and I'm going to be trying something new. I'm going to be making a commentary. I've seen a lot of great commentaries on the internet, and I've also seen a lot of videos that weren't exactly bad, but I still felt the urge to provide constructive criticism. Now, for my commentary avatar, I will be using none other than Sora from the Kingdom Hearts series. Now, I'm sure that a lot of people who have watched my top 10 list should know that I was inspired by Peanut3423 to make them. I've been a fan of him for almost 2 years. If you're wondering why I haven't subbed to his channel, Peanut3423 blocked me on YouTube has this stupid "you cannot subscribe to people who have blocked you" policy. He blocked me because I kept misinterpreting stuff, but I've improved since then. Today I will be looking into his top 10 worst cliches list. I think he made a great video, so please don't post comments saying "down with Peanut3423" or do stuff like unsub from his channel just because of my commentary. I'm just providing constructive criticism. Now this will be different even though it's my first commentary, because not only will I provide constructive criticism, I will also give examples of some of his cliches. Do not expect this in later commentaries of mine, but I will give examples of some things sometimes. Keep in mind that I am not a professional commentator like Roushutsurises, currently known as Roushutsurises. There are some instances where I take things too seriously or see things the wrong way. So if you want to make a commentary on my commentary, then go ahead. Just let me know after you make the commentary. Let's get on with the show.
No doubt about it, video games are packed with trends that repeat themselves time and time again. Some of these cliches, like the use of chanting in music to make situations more epic, can be so entertaining that to us it doesn't matter how overused they are. But then there are those cliches that you just shake your head at whenever you see them. The ones that just suck. Now, I'm going to go critical and list what I think are the absolute worst of these recurring trends. So get ready for the top 10 worst video game cliches.
By the way, what cliche are you referring to between numbers? Are you talking about motorcycles colliding? I don't see anything wrong with that.
I'm sure by now you all know how much I love final boss battles and how I especially love the build-up to some of these battles. But of course, not every finale is like that. Oh no, then we have those final bosses. You know, the final bosses that come right the f*** out of nowhere and always leave you wondering whether it's actually the final boss? These battles are complete anticlimaxes, always ruining the emotional intensity of the game you're playing. Likely the most infamous example is Necron from Final Fantasy IX, a boss who appears at the last minute, has an ambiguous backstory, and is wholly unoriginal. I mean, wow! Not only does this guy have glaring similarities to X-Death, but he also directly rips off dialogue from...
I'm skipping the next scene because it contains copyrighted material that could easily result in the destruction of my account.
That's just shameful! When the final boss of a game is something that we haven't been anticipating like Necron, the fight just comes across as not just rushed, but a complete letdown.
I agree that random final bosses are annoying, but sometimes they can be somewhat fun, but I do agree they're annoying, especially Omega Metroid from Metroid Fusion.
Aw yeah, Symphony of the Night. We're starting off strong. We're killing enemies and... Wait. What? Oh, f*** you! Now I have to get all of my items back! Situations where you lose all your powers annoy me.
I think now I know another reason why you hated Zelda Oracle of Ages.
Especially when you get used to some of the abilities given to you at the start. When you suddenly lose them, it really throws you off by how weak you become and how enemies you could have easily overcome earlier become much harder to kill.
I agree that it's annoying, but at least it's a good challenge.
Sometimes the situation in which you lose your abilities is completely ridiculous. In Metroid Prime, you lose your abilities after just getting thrown against a wall!
Might not have been the wall that made her lose her abilities. It could have been the explosion that threw her against the wall. Maybe she lost her items because the place was self-destructing. The wall could have been high voltage.
This cliché is undeniably terrible, but it isn't too bad if you get new abilities that you didn't have earlier to compensate. To me, half the fun of boss battles is discovering how you beat them. Unfortunately, that doesn't seem to be what certain game developers had in mind. Especially in Nintendo-developed games, boss fights keep displaying obvious weak spots that are downright insulting to people's intelligence. The Mario Galaxy series is practically synonymous with this practice. Bowser Jr. outright tells you what the weakness of Gobblegut is, even in spite of how blatantly obvious its weak points are to discover. And then there are just some bosses that, dear God, am I seeing this right? This boss's weak spot couldn't be more obvious even if it were flashing, had arrows pointing to it, and had a neon banner on the weak spot saying, "Hit me!" This is also prominent in adventure games like the Zelda series, where in almost every dungeon the boss is killed in some way by the main weapon that is found in there. That's just as bad because it's like that in nearly every game in the series. Try something new for once!
So you're saying that it's just as bad as a weak point that's completely obvious. I respect your opinion, but you're treating it as an outright fact. Some people might think it makes Zelda bosses more enjoyable. I mean, even when you know what weapon to use to kill them, the weak spot isn't always completely obvious or downright insulting to your intelligence, like, say, Navale Piranha from Yoshi's Island.
Fetch quests are where you travel around the entire world either looking for certain items, certain people, or trading items. These situations can be boring, but if it's accomplished as the game flows on, fetch quests are actually pretty enjoyable. There are some instances in games, however, where you travel back and forth between certain areas multiple times, seeing the same things over and over again, and all the while likely being forced to travel by foot. The game that to me is synonymous with such awful backtracking moments is Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. In nearly every chapter, there is some form of repetitive situation, whether this means traveling between Twilight Town and Creepy Steeple and always fighting the same respawning enemies, searching for General White in the most boring fetch quest of all time.
Again with treating your opinion as a fact. Some people can find other fetch quests even worse. I understand why, but it wouldn't hurt to elaborate. In fact, my opinion of the most boring fetch quest is a tie between in the same game. We have to get the Attacks FX badge for Miss Mouse, because it takes forever to get it. The enemies are not hard anymore, just time consuming. In the end, you'll find that she's the one who hid it there and forces you not to get mad at her. The other one is in Zelda Wind Waker, when you have to go around the entire Great Sea looking for Triforce charts. When you finally get all of them, you have to take forever to get over 3,100 rupees total to pay Tingle to set for the Triforce charts. Then you have to go all around the Great Sea again to get the Triforce shards. But that's an opinion.
And worst of all, going all the way through a jungle and back to get a wedding ring!
I agree that it's annoying to go through the jungle, especially flooding over those pits, but I can do it in like 5 minutes, not to brag. Besides, do you know how important a wedding ring is? If you're married and lose it, you're forced to break up with the person you're married to. Anyways, I'll skip the next sentence because it also contains a strict scene that I will not take the risk of showing on my channel and having my account banned.
Personally, I think I'll just stick with the N64 Paper Mario. Hey, I'm getting old here! This is a tie between the two most overused obstacles in gaming history: bottomless pits and spikes. Both of these obstacles have been around since forever. We've seen bottomless pits ever since Super Mario Bros.
There were bottomless pits in Donkey Kong Jr. and that game existed first.
And spikes gained a ton of popularity with the rise of the Mega Man series. But since then, both of these obstacles have spread like cancer to almost every other video game series ever. Half of their appearances in games don't make a lot of sense.
I'm looking at this picture right here, and I think the spikes are there because Dr. Robotnik probably buried them underground.
I mean, where do all the bottomless pits lead to in the Mushroom Kingdom? To the underground? Well, that can't be right. I mean, a few stages are underground. So, does the underground only let people survive when it feels like it?
Don't forget there are also bottomless pits in the underground as well. Maybe they lead to the Earth's core.
The Mega Man series uses the bottomless pit and spike cliches to death in every game in the series, especially in Dr. Wily's Fortresses. In the first Mega Man, there are so many spikes in Wily's fortress that it makes you wonder how Wily gets around his fortress each day without getting gored on his own death traps.
Maybe he uses a flying machine. Maybe he uses the remote to turn his traps on and off. Maybe he uses the secret door he uses in the number 5 entry on your list.
Cave Story also features spiked plants that mostly kill you in one hit. What purpose does that serve other than making an already repetitive and frustrating game even more repetitive and frustrating? Why are there plants growing underground, anyways? Why does Cave Story hate me so much? And why do people keep using these generic obstacles?
Just so you guys know, Peanut3423 posted a bulletin saying he's sorry for offending Cave Story fans, but it got lost forever like all bulletins do, so I just said here. Also, I'm skipping the next thing because it's copyrighted. Also, I wanted to upload all of this in one part, but because something keeps happening with my computer and it keeps slowing down, I'm going to stop this right here. I'll continue part 2 not too long from now.